how I became spiritual, how I got into my spirituality. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a minute since I really posted podcast episodes, but it's kind of hard when life is busy and you kind of don't have anything left to talk about. But one thing I did want to cover is how I became spiritual, how I got into my spirituality. A lot of my clients and a lot of my friends who are kind of going through the same thing, that has been the number one question for me. So I'm going to explain what happened in my life of how I came about this. And I'm going to show you a few things that I would suggest every beginner to have. Okay. So for me, I want to say back in 2017, when I moved back from Houston to Florida, I started coming across these YouTube videos of 𝐬𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐭𝐮𝐚𝐥. And me, I am a very, very curious person. Even when I was a little girl, I will question a lot of things, especially if it did not make sense to me. I always wonder why or how or what to do with X, Y, and Z. So I was very curious. So when I was listening to 𝐬𝐸𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐭𝐮𝐚𥥂, some of his videos, he wasn't the only one I was watching. I just can't remember the other people, but I did start off watching him. He would say certain things, and then, you know, I'm also kind of a study research type of person as well. So I will study and research some of the stuff. So watching his videos, I started from that. It went into the Egyptians. It went into learning about the Egyptians, learning about the crystals. That was what started it off for me. Not knowing that what I do now ran through my family's blood on both sides. Not knowing that I was the next person, the next descendant in line to carry the torch. So from the most of it, you know, it was just crystals and watching YouTube videos and studying what I had recently found. Later on from that, it made me remember what my mom would do. So my mom, she would do spells mostly for the family. She didn't have clientele like my grandmother's sister did. My grandmother's sister was, I love to call her the Mama Odie. I love to call her, if any of you guys ever seen 𝐬𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐭𝐮𝐚𥂂, she was like that times 10. I remember growing up when I was little, she would have people come from all over the world to come see her. And back then I never understood why. It was a room she would go into. She would never let the kids go in there. I think one time I went in there by accident and she hurried up and told me to get out. So back then, never understood none of that. But now that I'm older, now that I'm following those footsteps, I'm like, oh, this is what that was. So when I got into those three things, it made me think back of what I used to see as a little kid. Then it made me asking questions to my mom. And she would bring up certain things that would happen when she was little. And it kind of went down a rabbit hole from there. So then I came across chakras. And like I tell all of my clients, all of my friends, anybody who is getting into spirituality, chakras, learning the chakras, I will highly, highly, highly suggest that would be the first thing that you learn, because of the fact that once you learn about your chakras and you start to learn how to open them and learn how they function the way that they do, it's going to open so much. Because spirituality, besides working with spirit, is knowing how to get to your higher self. The only way you can get to your higher self is having your third chakra open, third eye chakra open. Because this is your third eye, that helps open so many dimensions, portals, and everything in between when it comes to spirituality. But we're only doing the basics and telling about my experience. So when I learned about that, I started searching different botanicas that was in Houston. I went to a couple of them. I had started getting crystals, dealing with chakras. I started reading books. And then I finally learned about meditation. Meditation is the second thing that I would suggest that any beginner learn how to do. Okay, it's not about shutting your mind up. It's not about like because when you look at meditation, they kind of a lot of people make it seem like they want you to shut the world out, make sure there's no noise. No, the main thing is when you meditate, how are you going to be able to meditate with the noise around you? You should be able to know how to meditate and know how to focus and center yourself so well that the outside doesn't interfere with your meditation. So once you start to meditate, once I started to meditate, I started to open my third eye. I remember I had an elder tell me, and I also read it in a book, if you open up your third eye too fast, it would hurt. I thought they was playing. I opened it up way too fast, and it's like your whole head starts banging. And I'm not going to even say it's your whole head. More so of the middle right here is where your third eye is located. That starts throbbing and hurting. So I'm over here like, oh my goodness. So I want to say little past ways of that. At the time, I didn't know what to call it, but I was able to see spirit and hear spirit. It scared the living heebie-jeebies out of me, but I didn't know what it was called. I didn't try to go figure out what it was called. None of that. But I did not stop it. I listened to it, especially when it came to me learning my beginner crafts that I would do. And I would listen to it when it came to certain situations I was in that helped me in what I need to get and so forth and so forth. So I want to say that's really how I got into it. And then later, as the years went on, I can really just sum it up because I'm not going to get into too much detail. I'll be here forever. But to sum it up, I mostly, end up, because here's the main thing everyone needs to realize. When you are going through your spirituality, spirit is going to start putting certain people in your lives to help you move forward with that. Okay? Mind you, remember, spirit will put certain people in your lives, even if it's short term or long term. Regardless, the spirit will always put certain people in your life to put you where you need to be for your greater self. Whether that's a lesson learned, whether that's a lesson you need to learn from them. Okay? So later on in my life, certain people was placed in my life that I learned new things, studied new things. I ended up coming across spiritual elders. I ended up finding out the history and blood of my roots. So I'm multiracial for people who did not know. On my mother's side, they were brujas. And on my father's side, they were also brujas. However, I say brujas because I also do have Latin blood in me. So I do have the Latin trait along with other things. But my mother's side, which is the Native American side, they were very, very, very powerful root workers, hoodoo people, anything you could think of for the good. They definitely help people. I know I have an episode on here explaining why people think that spirituality is so bad, and majority of it is because no one does their research or no one has an open mind to learn new things. That does not mean you have to convert. That does not mean you have to change from what you feel comfortable with. At the end of the day, and I will always disclose this, at the end of the day, your spiritual walk is yours by yourself. Being an open-minded person, being a spiritual person, and being at your higher self, you will always realize being spiritual and being at your higher vibration, you will always understand and know that everybody's spiritual walk is their own and they're alone. Okay? You cannot, when it's time for you to go to meet your maker, you cannot take nothing or no one that you was with you. You can't. So you have to come to peace with what is right with you, what feels right with you, and what you feel like, is comfortable with you. So that's able to help you in life. So going back to what I was saying beforehand, yes, I end up coming across spiritual elders. I end up researching and studying more. Once I found out my bloodline, I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. So outside of my religion of 𝐛𝐞𝐜𝐨𝐤𝐫𝐢𝐭𝐮𝐚�, I also am a Palo initiate, and that also does root work and hoodoo, and depending on what it is, a little bit of voodoo. I know that scares a lot of people, especially in society, but I have came to live with, this is who I am. Okay, take it or leave it, you're not gonna hurt me. And I know that this was my purpose, to help people at the end of the day, because all the gifts that I have, spiritual gifts that I have, it is used to help people. I do not do it in a negative way. I do not harm anybody. I simply do it because I love helping people who really, really need help. And when I was going through this by myself, because I'm not going to lie to you, and it's even in another one of my podcast episodes of spiritual awakening. When you go through spiritual awakening, you're going to go through hell. You're going to go through hell. There's never going to be a time where spiritual awakening is going to be sunshine, rainbows. Okay, you're always going to go through hell when it comes to spiritual awakening. So I didn't have nobody when I went through my first one, and you're going to have multiple. So it's just like when I have people who can come to me and who seek advice, who seeks help, I am more than willing to help them, because I know now that this is my purpose. So I am following pretty much the footsteps of my aunt, my grandmother's sister, who passed years ago, around the same time. And it was so weird because when she passed, and she was so near and dear to me, so I was so hurt by it. But when she passed, it was like I heard someone say, "It's your turn." Never knew what that meant. Never knew what that meant until years later. Now I'm doing the same thing she's doing. I have people who come to me who seek advice, and not only in my hometown, but everywhere. So it's just like, I am grateful for the blessings. I am grateful that God gave me the gifts that he gave me, which I am a psychic and a medium. And when spirit is really, really heavy, when there's a lot of messages and all of that jazz, my third eye sometimes hurt. I believe that I matured my chakras so much and opened them to a point where they don't have to hurt anymore. But I definitely know now, I'm able to tell easier with the experience that I have, with the elders that I have. This is my cat Angel. She's a kitten. She just keep trying to play. But with the knowledge that I have, that I'm able to help people at this point. I'm able to tell people what they need to do at this point. I'm even able to have my own business like my aunt has. So it's just, some of my friends call me the modern day Mama Odie, which is hilarious. And I wear that name with pride, because knowing that I'm able to help make your life easier, it makes my heart just so warm. So that's how I got into spirituality. Hopefully that answered your question. But I'm going to also show you guys what I would consider you guys to have when you're first starting off. This is a collective book of prayers. Okay. Once you tap into a certain point, this is really good for Misas, which I have an episode on YouTube as well explaining what that is. But pretty much when talking to spirit, trying to learn to talk to spirit, and just trying to learn how to talk to your ancestors just to get help, even if it's for you. This is a good book. This is an older version. There's many other different versions, but they all pretty much say the same thing. You can get this on Amazon. I got this from a Botanica, but this is one of the best books to get. Also, I would suggest for your altar to call spirits in, we use a bell. Okay, we use a bell to call spirits in, to pretty much wake them up. Be like, hey, I'm here. This is my grandmother's, who had passed back 2 years ago. She had collected a whole lot of bells. And something called to me to grab this Native American one, because that's the Native American side of my family. So I keep this on the altar at all times. And when I'm serving them food, giving them water, giving them alcohol, giving them coffee, whatever they wanted, I'm like, hey, it's here. So also a bell. I usually have mine in a denser form. Sometimes This is Palo Santo incense. When you getting incense, you cannot get your incense from Walmart 5 and below and think it's going to do the same thing. No, I will highly suggest that you get your incense from a botanica, from someone who sells spiritual stuff, because they will have the real deal. I ran out of Palo Santo sticks, so I have Palo Santo incense. Does the same thing, friends. The next thing, when you are working with your spirits, I love doing this when I'm doing my readings. Frankincense and myrrh together is a powerful, powerful mixture. Especially, like I said, when I'm doing my readings, these two are the most powerful things you can put together. Okay? The most powerful. And it really is good for contacting. It is really good for contacting spirits and all of that nature, especially when you're trying to. Now, another thing that is really good for spirits to come forth, camphor. You think, I kid you not, I had a friend that was like, you think you see spirits now. This stuff right here will put them spirits in 3D form if you're just that developed. But this right here is good for meditation as well, for your third eye. I would always suggest this for meditation purposes, because when you're meditating, especially when you're trying to contact ancestors or contact spirits or whatever you're doing, this is the best thing because it gets to them quicker. Frankincense and myrrh is the best for, like I said, when it comes to readings, to give you that more of potency of being able to talk to spirit, get the answers that you need, to divination, all of that jazz. And Palo Santo is really, really, really good for cleansing your home, cleansing your business, cleansing your space, period, and cleansing you if need be. And also when it's used right, to attract. One thing I am so grateful that my godmother told me is to make this. Okay. A lot of practitioners, especially in my religion, but it don't only have to be in your religion, a lot of mediums and spiritissimos and a lot of mediums and psychics, you will see this. It may not be the same color, but it will always be 9 colors. I haven't had the chance to put bells and all the trinkets on mine, but this is so good. Now, the purpose of the colors is ancestors are colorful. Okay, so any elder will tell you to choose 9 colors, because that's just one of the things when it comes to dealing with 𝐬𝐩𝐢𝐫𝐢𝐭𝐮𝐚𝐥, which is ancestors. You always got to have 9 colors. These 9 colors is how can I put it? Like I said, just a vast range of dealing with your people. Okay, ancestors or anything dealing, not the higher spirits, not God, not, like the main, but like the loved ones that passed on. You will usually see a lot of people with these. Okay. I usually wear this when I do my readings as well. It also aids in me with that. I'm also a person that gets mounted a lot. I will cover what mounted is in another episode one day, but I'm not going to talk about it now. But in my religion, I get mounted a lot. So this is also good for you to stay in the physical so you don't get mounted and all of that jazz. So, but as a first timer, I would suggest this because, like I said, it is good for working with your ancestors. And I would suggest this. And I would suggest a bell to contact them for when you're giving them something. And out of all the incense that I've had, I would say, if you just had to choose, I would say all of them, but if you just had to choose, definitely Palo Santo to clean your space, and definitely camphor to get closer to spirit even quicker. So that's pretty much it. That's how I got into spirituality. And these are just a little of the few things of what to have as a new beginner. So like, comment, and subscribe if you already haven't. But thank you for, of course, listening to another one of my spiritual tips at Sage Sunday Botanica. And if you guys do need spiritual services, the link to my spiritual business, which is my Instagram, is in the description below. So make sure that you guys follow me on my personal Instagram, on my spiritual Instagram. I'm always posting spiritual stuff on that page. And if you need any type of spiritual service, any type of help, you can contact me also through there until I can get a website up, whenever that will be. But until then, peace out, my spiritual beings.